Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The New World. And after watching the 76ers season thus far with their ups and many downs, it's time we all talk about the failure of this franchise's season. But before we hop into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we are on the road to 10K subs. Turn on those notifications if you haven't, and comment your thoughts on the 76ers season thus far. Now, fellas, after watching the 76ers so far, do you agree that this season was a bust? And what are your thoughts on the Big Three in Philly?
Yeah, this season is definitely a bust. Honestly, I think that this team is a bust. And if they weren't in a big market like Philadelphia, I would strongly consider that they sell the franchise. I say that because if we really just think about, we are in 2025. I don't recall when Joel Embiid got drafted. I think it was 2013. So he got drafted in 2014. So that's 11 years. The trust the process is dead.
You lie! You're lying! He lies! 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 When will the lies end?
And it was a failure. NBA franchises, I don't care how bad you are, tanking deliberately for 3 to 5 years is not the way to go. And honestly, you should get your draft picks taken away and revolt if you try to do that. Because that shit is an abomination. But let's lock in and focus on this team. This team is currently 11 in the Eastern Conference, and they're not going anywhere. They're 20-34 on the season, dog. It is over. Go ahead and just shelve Joel Embiid. And I think the biggest mistake, in my opinion, and I have to really get on this guy, Daryl Morey, is contracts. Paul George contract, a terrible fucking contract. The Joel Embiid extension, why would you give this guy an extension? He's never available. He's never available. Let's just look at some of these, the amount of games this guy's played. 54 games have been played this year. Joel Embiid has only participated in 17. 37 due to a persistent left knee injury. He hasn't been available for you this year. And if we just look about him in general, Joel Embiid has missed in his career 385 regular season games over 11 years. He's only participated in about 53% of the team's games. So we can officially say that Joel Embiid is a part-time NBA player. He is, because he's only going to be available half of the games. And one thing I really want to lock in about is his playoff performances, because he's not a superstar. Because when I think of a superstar, and Buffy, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like we need to really kind of set standards on what that is. Because I need for my superstar, my face of my franchise, to elevate when he gets to the postseason. Joel Embiid has not done that. They've missed their window. They've had opportunities to make deep playoff runs, and they've had teams, the 76ers organization, once Joel Embiid started, being an MVP caliber player, they've made strides to develop this team, adding pieces. You drafted Ben Simmons. We all know what he is now, but Ben Simmons was a productive player when he was in Philly. You acquired James Harden. You acquired Jimmy Butler. You acquired Tobias Harris. They've made moves, and this team has been in the postseason, second round. Joel Embiid has not been able to get over that hump. If we just look at his performances, they just tend to fluctuate. Joel Embiid is a roller coaster when we get to the postseason. So 59 playoff games for his career, he's averaging 24.5 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. And then his shooting splits drop. Field goal percentage 46%, 28% from 3. We all know all of his numbers just go down. With that being said, man, I don't really know what this team should do, because you're giving this guy a contract, and it doesn't look like Joel Embiid is going to get any better. In my opinion, I think he's done. I think he's done in terms of being an MVP level player. I want to give you guys one key insight. In the 2023 season, when Joel Embiid won the MVP, right, he averaged 33.1 points per game in the regular season. He averaged 23.7 points per game in the playoffs. That's a 9.4 point drop off. Did you guys know that that's the largest decline by an MVP in NBA history? In NBA history, that's the biggest drop off in NBA history by an MVP. And Joel Embiid did that. I think that just goes to show who he is, and he's not going to get better. So I think that this team needs to rebuild. Tyrese Maxey at this point, at this juncture, should be the face of the franchise. And I don't really know what they can do about that Paul George acquisition. You can't really move up off of him because you're giving him all of that bread. So maybe y'all can help me with that. This is the one time where I don't really know a financial outlet for this man and Paul George, because he had just been abominable. Don't even really want to talk about his statistics. He's only averaging 16 points a game. I've heard my boys say that, we should forget about Celtics Shaq. forget about Brooklyn Nets KG, and just talk about Philly Paul George and just continue to roll those podcast P clips of him talking about himself and talking about how just give me what Kawhi got. Like, Paul George, you're a fucking clown, bro. And I'm just gonna kick it off to my guys because we already have a video documenting how we feel about Paul George. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think my boys will put that link in the description and go check that out because he is a fucking joke. And this team is a joke. And this team is going nowhere fast. So, Buffy, just help me out, man. What can they do? What can this team do to get out of the hole, to get out of the purgatory hell that they are in, man? I have no answers at all.
Okay, I'm gonna be Daryl Morey for a minute.
Let's hear it.
Here's how you gotta attack things. And
so think about this. I'm ownership. I'm ownership, and I come to Daryl Morey. What's the plan, man? Give me some hope.
All right, first plan: shut down Joel Embiid for the entire season. I don't know why they haven't even done it. Like, literally, I don't even know why they done it. They have no chance to win this year. They're not better than the Cavaliers or Boston. We know they're not better than Boston. They're not better than any of the other teams in the playoff picture. So why haven't they shut down Joel Embiid for the entire season? He honestly, like, we know Joel Embiid, his knees are cooked. His knees are cooked. Like, literally, bro, he cannot play on this, bro. Like, Joel Embiid, like, from last year, and I thought last year was the best season Joel Embiid ever had. Like honestly, if you look at the production he had last season, it's honestly like Joel Embiid played 82 games. It would have been like arguably like the greatest season ever. Like, just off of how efficient he was, just like the production he gave you offensively and defensively. He was an elite defender. He was giving you 35 a game. Like, and his efficiency numbers were off the roof. He was honestly, like, that's honestly one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen. If he finished it, he didn't finish it. So he came back in the postseason. We know, like, he did that, like, self-alley-oop bullshit, fucking banged up his knee again. And, you know, Joel Embiid, to me, honestly, he's like one of the most idiotic players I've ever seen. Like, literally, he does some of the dumbest stuff. No, he's injury prone. Like, he honestly plays like how Josh Allen would play if Josh Allen was like Kyler Murray or some shit. Like if you get injured like every season, like, dog, it's like the dumbest stuff. Like what are you even doing? So the first thing you do is shut Joel Embiid off. Like, literally, like, shut him down. You know, honestly, I know you and me and Jay were not fans of tanking. Just tank this season. Just tank the season so you can get a draft pick. I know people are saying they're gonna get Cooper Flag. They're not gonna get Cooper Flag. Like if people stop bringing that up, they're not getting Cooper Flag. So people bringing that up that Philly's going to take and they're going to get the number one seed. Like, shit, not in Adam Silver's league. Not in Adam Silver's league is that going to happen. Now, if that does happen, it doesn't surprise me, but that's not going to happen. So let's just take that out of, like, you know, people's thoughts and stuff like that. They literally need to, like, shut Joel Embiid off. So that's the first thing. The big mistake, and I think the big mistake was honestly getting Paul George. Paul George, we've already said in interviews, like, he felt disrespected that LA wanted to give him 3 years, 150, and I was like, dog, that's like that's a good contract, Paul George. Like, you're getting 50 mil a year, pretty much, essentially. And he's like, okay, give me that, but give me no trade. What do you mean no trade? What do you mean no trade? Like, you want a no trade clause? Only two players in the NBA have a no trade clause. That's LeBron James and that's Bradley Beal. LeBron James, as we know, is in GOAT conversation, so him having it is justified. Bradley Beal is sitting on one of the worst contracts in sports history. Literally, maybe the most worst contract in history, like in NBA history. Like, we can make a video on the Phoenix Suns being in purgatory, and the main clause of this is them getting Bradley Beal, which I don't even understand the reason of even getting Bradley Beal in the first place, because you have Devin Booker. They pretty much do the same shit. Like, they play the same position. They're both like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". Like, they play the same position. It's not like they can play point guard or anything. Like, I know Devin Booker is like does a pretty good job of, like, you know, playing that role, but that's not who he is. Like, so those only two players that have it. And Paul George wanted that. He's out of his damn mind. And the fact that I think he has more podcast episodes than points average this season. And I kid you not, Paul George has been so bad this season, and Philly fans have been clamoring on, oh, well, Tobias Harris was so bad, you know, playing with Philadelphia. Tobias Harris last season has better stats than Paul George has this season. I will repeat myself one more time. Tobias Harris last season had better numbers than Paul George has this season. Paul George has been that bad. I think Paul George y'all already sent in the group chat. Paul George got outperformed by Bronny James. Bronny James scored almost, you know, fifth of the amount of points that Paul George scored in the other game. Like, literally, Bronny James, a person who only gets in during garbage time. just to kind of like and Bronny James isn't really like at this stage now. Maybe he may prove me wrong, but he's not really a quality NBA player. That's just me. I don't think it's really high take to say that now. Bronny fans, don't come at me in the comments, don't come at me on the reels or anything. Like I just don't think he's not that good. So for Paul George to be having outings with that, like literally that, and if you just look at the Philadelphia Sixers plus and minus, they're literally better with Paul George off the court. So the fact they have him is insane to me. I don't really understand. I do kind of feel your point of maybe moving in the direction of having Tyrese Maxey as the future. But even then, I don't think Tyrese Maxey as good as he is. I don't think he's that guy. But I do think it's a solid building point for building on in the future because this honestly is a waste. When I saw that Joel Embiid got drafted in 2014, I was like, God damn! Like he's been in the league that long. Like isn't he 30 or something? And he hasn't even sniffed at a conference finals. I don't even want to bring up the Fan Mahomes. Like Fan Mahomes retired on Twitter, so there's no even point in bringing this up. But Fan Mahomes retired on Twitter before Joel Embiid could even see a conference finals. We have Donald Trump out here renaming locations. Like the Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America before Joel Embiid has even sniffed it a conference finals. Like, do you know how crazy that is? And it's honestly a shame because if you just look at like this is just malpractice. If you just look at how like the Philadelphia Eagles are ran, perfect. Harry Rosman has those guys perfect. They just won a Super Bowl. They won a Super Bowl, I believe, 6 years ago too. So they've been in they've been having the best roster construction. Like I just wish the Philadelphia 76ers, because honestly, they're like the little brothers at this point. They're like the little brothers. I honestly wish they can just take a page out of what the NFL is doing and how their NFL team is performing. Because those guys, like in Philadelphia, they're literally storming the streets. It is so bad, man. Like Philly as a city is just dumb to me. I don't know. It's like Philly and Atlanta are like the dumbest cities. Anyways, dog. There's not like they already put themselves in this hole. You pretty much have to kind of deal with it at this point. They're not going to be contending for a championship, and they're not going to be, kind of high in the order in the draft line. So they're pretty much in a bad state. But that's what I would do. I would just shut Joel Embiid off for the season. Like, why hasn't he been shut off yet? Like, we know he cannot play on this injury. Like, he needs to go through an off season of him going through surgery and getting it repaired and coming back next season. That's your best hope. That's your best hope. Honestly, and I forgot to top of my hands the contract negotiations, but that's also a key thing to bring up. But just looking at it, and in the role plays they got this season, this is really a season for them to compete. They were supposed to be a top 3 seed this year, a top 3-4 seed, and not only are they coming up short, they're coming up really bad. And the fact that they thought Paul George was going to be, the solver of their problems and providing that level of scoring that he did. And honestly, he wasn't even that good of a scorer in LA. Like, honestly, he really wasn't. The big stain on his legacy is literally that 2020 performance. He was awful. And many people don't bring this up. He was terrible when last year when they played the Mavericks and the series was tied 2-2, he was god awful. He was god awful, and that's not anything surprising with Paul George. We know Paul George is not the playoff performer. He gave himself the nickname Playoff P, but he drops in the postseason. We know he's a dropper. So you're pairing up 2 postseason droppers on the same team. It's not going to work. And then you got a guy who I don't think Tyrese Maxey is that talented to be a number 1. I think he's a quality number 2 or 3 on the championship winning team, and that's okay. That's okay. But he has to take the helm with it. No, like the Philadelphia 76ers, they pretty much run themselves to the ground. They pretty much deserve everything that's getting towards them. And honestly, I have to blame Daryl Morey for once, because Daryl Morey has kind of built up the reputation of him being, this all-time great, general manager. He abides by what James Harden does or in Houston. And, he made all these moves. But where are the championships, bro? Where are the championships? If this was LA, if this was LA and how Lakers fans get on the Rob Pelinka, and Rob Pelinka makes moves. Rob Pelinka makes moves to better the team, and LA is still on his ass. LA is still on his ass, and they already delivered a championship in 2020. So if he was in LA, man, bro, they would have probably leaked his address like they did Nico Harrison. I'm just calling a spade a spade. So those are my thoughts on the situation, man. I know the podcast uses this word a lot, but the Philadelphia 76ers are in purgatory. They are in purgatory. I'm sorry, and they'll be in purgatory for as long as Joel Embiid is pretty much on the roster because he's not that guy. He's just not that guy. So.
Oh, also before Jay, you get into it, I did want to mention this. You guys remember when we heard reports that Tyrese Maxey was getting on Joel Embiid's ass for showing up to shit late? That's another thing. You're not even taking your craft seriously. He has no fucking commitment. This guy's not that guy, as my boy Buff said. Just wanted to put that out there because Joel Embiid, we will not be letting you off the hook for that. Also, won't be letting you off the hook for pushing that reporter. Still on your ass for that because I thought that shit was soft. I don't really care what he said because I actually kind of agree with what the reporter said about,
he was talking about like his brother, right?
Well, I mean,
like,
but my thing is, this is what he said. I think he said it in a kind of a clunky way, but essentially all he was saying was, you say all of this, but part of your legacy is like being available and actually playing, and you're not being committed to your craft. If you're showing up late to shit and you're not taking your conditioning seriously, then yeah, honestly, like that like you're really and I think his son is named after his brother because he was really talking about his son. He was giving some context about how his son is named after his dead brother. So you're really just talking about Joel Embiid. You're trying to live legacy to your son. You're not setting a good example by not showing up to work on time and not taking your conditioning seriously, sir. So if this is the legacy that you want to live for your son, I'm just gonna keep it at that.
I think it's kind of a slippery slope to kind of ask that question. Like honestly, and
it
like,
is. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
The reporter knew what he was doing.
Yeah, like you know what you're doing, like bro, like I don't know. I kind of just wouldn't went like I wouldn't have gone there.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said it like that. I would have just said like, dude, whatever legacy you're trying to leave on the game, you're not doing a good job because you're not putting in the requisite work. I would have said that. Leave the kid out and leave the brother out.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I understand that, but like, was he telling him that? Because like, you know, as a reporter, you're not really supposed to provide your input as much. So was he kind of telling him that?
He wrote an article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Joel Embiid was mad about that article. Yeah, which I ain't gonna lie, in articles they do that. They kind of just bolster it up a little bit. New. But he didn't say it to his face. I mean, come on now.
I mean, isn't Joel Embiid's nickname like the troll or something? Like he should be like he's just trolling. That's how you should take it.
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that he wasn't playing, and he had also made the comments about how he wasn't going to play back-to-backs, and the fans were kind of getting on him. So I think he should have did that. He took his frustration out on that reporter because I think that Joel Embiid MVP season, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. He shouldn't even said he wasn't going to play back-to-backs because that's something that the public already realized. It's like, dog, we know you have. You know, I know we talk about Kawhi Leonard in his condition. Joel Embiid is just fragile. He's just fragile, and that's okay. You know, it's glad that he knows he's fragile, but it's just something you just don't say to the media. And I think they did it. Like I think Adam Silver and them, they did an investigation on him for saying that.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, so basically the whole drama between like you know your team is cooked when basically the whole talk around the town is every drama every week. So it was Paul George, then it was Joel Embiid, then it was Joel Embiid again. Then it was like, you know, situation he had, you know, with a reporter. So, you know, when you have a situation like this, you just know you're cooked. Like, honestly, like, the situation they were having, you know, early in the season, it was kind of like on some LA shit. Like, nigga, only the Lakers go through that shit. The fact that, you know, you're you're in Philly and you're going through growing pains like that is not a good sign, bro.
I'm going to go ahead and start off by saying, whoever the owner is for the Philadelphia 76ers, I will fire Darren Morley. Because he hasn't really helped you out. Like, he hasn't. He brought you some talent, that's cool. But has he really helped you out? Because, like, I'll compare it to Sam Presti. Even though Sam Presti, he hasn't won any rings, at least he's got guys that have won MVPs. He's brought you MVPs to your team. Like, he's brought you Westbrook. You know, even though Harden left, you know, Harden was MVP. KD. You know, SGA, he probably gonna win MVP. Like he's at least bringing you talent to help you get there.
Well, can I kind of push back on that? Well, Daryl Morey has done that. Joel Embiid won an MVP, and James Harden won an MVP in 2018, so he did do that.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, but at least when I'm looking at Joel Embiid, dude, playoff dropper. I mean, we all know this. We all know how he gets. Like. He honestly really shouldn't be playing right now. And dude, I don't even think the brother has cartilage in his knees. Like he even said that he even
That's what
said
I'm saying. Just sit him out. Just sit.
he even said it
Just
himself
rest
that
for the entire season.
yeah, he even said himself that he's gonna need another surgery this offseason. So like dude's walking glass. Like he's constantly has, knee pains, and then my God, I'm gonna get into Paul George, but Paul George, I mean, we know what he's done. Like even though, when he got there and Tobias, everybody's wanting to get rid of Tobias Harris. I'd want Tobias Harris back. Like honestly, I probably want Tobias Harris back. And Tyrese Maxey, he's kind of just out here, playing with two knuckleheads. Like he's playing with one guy who stays getting hurt, but he's enjoying getting his bread, and then the other guy, he's focused on getting them podcast episodes out more. And since he got his bread, it really don't matter if his stats look that good. So it's really a laughing stock out at Philly right now. Like I'm highly disappointed in this team. This team was supposed to, if they were healthy and at their peak, they were supposed to be competing against the big teams like Boston, even though they were going to lose. Boston, Cleveland, New York, Milwaukee. They're supposed to be up there in those talks. And this season, they're not. They have not. And Joel Embiid, the brother, is an embarrassment for the franchise. That trust the process, that's total BS. That's total BS. Like that might actually be the worst saying I've heard in sports history. Like, I mean, I would, as a Philly fan, I'd be so hurt, bro, that he's saying, trust the process, this and that. Cause
bro, the thing is like
the process hasn't gotten you nowhere.
Bro, and then the crazy part is he still acts like because I remember there was like a clip of like Team USA and they was like, "What's your nickname?" He was like, "The Process." He still acts like that's his nickname, and it's like, bro, like you've been saying this for 10 years and you hadn't even sniffed at the Super Bowl. You hadn't even sniffed at the NBA Finals. So like the fact that he keeps on saying the process, this is my nickname. It's like, bro, let that shit go, bro. Like he's hanging on to it by a thread, bro.
Bro, nigga, you don't deserve that title. Like, nigga, your process is gone, bro. Like, comparing him to like Kawhi Leonard, when we know how bad of injury prone Kawhi Leonard is. But you look at Kawhi, he tries to get back on the floor and he has such love for the game that he tries to go out there, but he just has problem with his knees.
Also,
but then you look at Joel Embiid.
Kawhi Leonard is a 2-time NBA champion. Like, all the hate that the man gets, the man left San Antonio, went to Toronto for 1 year and won a championship that year. Joel Embiid, and he beat Joel Embiid to get there. Like, Joel Embiid is not even in Kawhi Leonard's galaxy, man. If we just talk about winning level players, he's not.
Yeah, no, he's not in there, but point, Joel Embiid, his integrity for the game, and I kind of saw, I kind of listened on how Kenyon Martin big on, his knees were hurting a lot in his career, and he was talking about, how bad he wanted to get back on the floor, but he really couldn't because his knees. And then you look at Joel Embiid, he's a guy who got all this bread, money's guaranteed, and he doesn't really care to get back on the floor. Like, this nigga has missed almost 50% of games he's played. Like, dude, and you telling me trust the process? Like, you telling me to trust you? How am I gonna trust you if you don't really care to get back on the floor? And then your big goofy ass, you stay getting hurt. Like, you flop all the time, bro. Like, I get it. You are great. You could have been such a great talent, but dude, you flop all the time. You complain, you troll, you do all this. And a lot of those times, like Buffy was saying, you kind of get yourself hurt. And then, he's really up there with kind of like AD. He just gets hurt out of nowhere. Like, and it's always the knee injuries. So you can't tell me to trust you if you ain't even helping me out, honestly. Like Joel Embiid, I mean, the dude, you're right. You are a troll, brother. You are a troll because you're not. And then the fact that this dude was really saying that, if he wasn't hurt, he'd be the greatest big of all time. Shut the hell up. Shut up, bro. Just be quiet, bro. Like, don't even do all that, bro. Like, you want MVP, cool, but bro, Joel Embiid, I mean, yeah, you are a troll. But next, I want to get into Paul George. I mean, Paul George, playoff P, podcast P. I mean, wow. What's a let off? Like, first of all, if anybody asks for a no trade clause, nigga, you better give me a championship. You better have won yourself an MVP at the least. I better not hear you. Don't even ask for a no trade clause if you have not even given me those things. You know how your parents would be like, "Don't ask me again, nigga. Don't ask me again." Like you don't even need to be sniffing no trade clause if you haven't even got two of those things. Like it's a short list of people who deserve a no trade clause, and that is really two people that you can really name: Jokic and Wemby. And LeBron, he's in GO talk, so that's deservingly so. Like Bradley Beal, nigga don't deserve no trade clause. Paul George, no trade clause. Like, what are we doing, bro? You haven't shown me anything over the like ever since 2018 to deserve a no trade clause. Like Luca owns you in the playoffs, and then you don't really show up in the playoffs. So and you're hurt from time to time. And then sometimes you have inconsistencies, in your game. So it's like, why do you deserve a no trade clause? And I Paul George as a player, 2018, Indiana, I love him. He's one of my favorite players, but dude, you don't deserve no trade clause. And then you're over here producing more podcast episodes than games played. And then you just let Bronny James score more points than you in an NBA game. Bronny James hasn't even developed into a solid NBA player yet, and he's out here scoring more points than you in an NBA game where he only plays a couple of minutes, and you play 30 minutes a night, bro. I would be sick as hell to my stomach if that happened. If that was me, I would be sick as hell. Like, that really doesn't make no sense. And the bread that you got, bro. If I was the NBA, if I was the 76ers, I would try and find, some way to get that bread back because they're not getting it back. And honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and play devil's advocate. Get rid of Joel Embiid, trade him, because it might be one of those lower franchises that'll be dumb enough to trade for him. But Paul George, I don't even think nobody's gonna trade for him. I'm keeping it stacked with you. The 76ers, they really dug a hole with that one. I don't really know if anybody's willing to trade for him unless it's for a low amount of money, which we all know Paul George isn't taking because obviously he didn't want to do that with the Clippers, and we can clearly see now the Clippers won out on that deal because Norman Powell has been hooping since Paul George been gone, and that team that just got Ben Simmons, and that team they could really compete for a championship. Like if they got Kawhi Leonard, Norman Powell, Harden, Zubac, Ben Simmons, like that, they have a better chance at going to the finals than this 76ers team. And that's sad to say, but they got a better chance. And in that stack West, I would rather, I'd bet on, the Clippers making the finals over them. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like the 76ers, it's such a failure. It really is a failure. Like you got two big goofballs and then one guy who's out here hooping, having to deal with it. And that's Tyrese Maxey. And he really should have to go through this because, Joel Embiid is supposed to be the face of the franchise. He's supposed to be the guy that we're supposed to be trusting in to get us to the promised land. And he still hasn't done that. And then Buffy named off all the things that have gone on, throughout this time, and he hasn't made a conference championship. Like, are we serious? He hasn't made an Eastern Conference Finals yet. Donald Trump's over here naming the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, bro. Donald Trump has a second term, bro. Like, you hear what I'm saying? Like, Joel Embiid, the nigga might not even make a conference finals, ever in his career. Like an MVP, never making a conference final. Are we serious? Like, that's embarrassing. That is really embarrassing, bro. Like Joel Embiid, he might be. You can't really call him a bust, but he's a huge failure. Like it's a big failure for somebody of that's supposed to be one of the best bigs. He's was really going tit for tat, with Jokic. Like, and he really doesn't have anything to show for it in his career except for an MVP. And it's like, bro, you were supposed to bring us to the promised land, and you didn't. And this season is a failure. This franchise has kind of been a failure for a while. They haven't done what they were supposed to. I think they really missed out on not having Jimmy Butler, that was really their best chances of getting there. When they had Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons, that was really their best chance of getting there. They didn't really pan out when they had Harden, and it's really been downhill ever since, and it will continue to be downhill because Joel Embiid is not the same player. Like he's will be declining. Like even though he might be able to come back on the floor, he won't play the back-to-backs. He will constantly be declining, and it's not good for his career. But he's got his bread, so he probably doesn't care. He really doesn't care, and that's what's wrong with a lot of NBA players. Like they're just cool with the bag that they got, and they don't really care to give the effort and the love of the game on the floor. So it's really kind of sad to see for someone who loves basketball and myself. So if he doesn't care, why should I care? Honestly.
To close it out, Jay has talked about Joel Embiid not being able to lead this team to the promised land. Hey, it took Moses and them 40 years to get to the promised land, so maybe there's hope for Joel Embiid out there. He's only have 11 NBA seasons? Maybe get there eventually.
I think low-key like a funny one is like he has an iconic statement. It's really iconic at this point because of how hilarious the graphics are. But it's like it's not a rivalry when they kick our ass every time. I think Joel Embiid, once you got your ass kicked so many times, you gotta start hanging it up, bro. And that's a sad reality.